Okay, I think I'm live now. Very good morning to all of you. So let's take the cue from where we ended in the last class. If there's any problem regarding the novel that we have already covered, you can ask me in the live Q&A. I'll be checking on to that. And from here, we will take the stride forward. Today, we have to wrap up what? We have to wrap up Shadow Lines by Amitabh Ghosh. All right, there is some parts which are remaining that we are going to deal with. All right, so anything that you wish to, that you could not understand, and I will be sharing the full essay with you once we are done with it so that you do not get confused. All right, so just focus on the parts that I've already shared on the Telegram group. Focus on that. If there's anything that you want to ask, if there's anything you are not able to comprehend, then you ask me. All right, as to what we did in the last class, let me give you a quick summary of the same. We were talking about various characters and how these different characters are projected in terms of or in relation to who, the main narrator. I hope you remember that how he projects his image onto Trideep. That is, if I had to imagine, for example, he says I was not able to form a mental image of what and how Trideep was, so I decided for myself that he definitely looked like me. So the idea of always projecting his own image on Trideep, then the idea of having envisioned Nick Price in a way that what he says that I always consider Nick as growing along with me. When I looked at myself in front of the mirror, I thought that Nick was the main adversary who was growing along with me. All right, simultaneously, while he was always stronger and better looking. So these were the interpretation that we form. Also in terms of Ella, I hope you remember how the narrator projects and mirrors his image in terms of Ella, the main character. What does he say? That it was as if Ella and I could have easily been twins. So the idea of the narrator being unnamed, being undefined, giving a kind of edge to the narrator. In what sense? It gives an edge of fluidity. Fluidity. The idea of fluidity, that is, he can amalgamate all these characters that he meets. He can amalgamate all the stories that he listens. He can absorb
मैम
all.
सॉरी टू डिस्टर्ब यू मैम एक बार आप पीपीटी दोबारा शेयर कर देंगे आप
Okay, sir.
डन मैम
Okay. Okay, sir. So, what we were talking about, the idea of his projection of his own image in terms of others, that is, he cannot define himself in the absence of all these characters. So, the idea of absence and presence, I hope you remember. I hope you understood the fact of how he considers himself with and without these characters. So, the idea of the narrator not being able to pinpoint as to where it is that he belongs, therefore, the identity crisis. All right. Okay, very good morning to Kushi also, Pooja, Nidhi, Shefali, all of you, Nikita. So, Ria, you're asking, Mami, can you please explain the last stanza of critical essay, maps and mirrors in the book? All right, I'll do that, Ria, in a while. So, are you able to understand the three characters that the narrator is projecting his image onto? That of first Ella, then that of Trideep, or if we take it in chronology, then the idea of his projecting his image onto Trideep, he wanting to become just like him and imagining his own self as being mirrored by Trideep and trying to become his own alter ego. Then in terms of Ella, how he sees Ella as a twin. All right, he says that it could have easily been possible that we were each other's twins. We were twins. We are so alike. Then the idea of Nick Price, how he always thought of Nick Price as his arch enemy, as his most competent adversary. All right, that he used to imagine that we are fighting, and the one thing that they were fighting for was Ella's affection. I hope you remember that you were able to answer it in the last class as well. So the idea of always seeing himself in terms of the absence and presence of other people, that is what we were talking about. I hope that's clear to you. All right, we will be moving forward and finishing off Shadow Lines by Amitabh Ghosh in today's class. Good morning, Prachi and Vidhi. I hope you all are doing well. All right, let's Okay, so one question was regarding, okay, let's finish off this first, then we will talk about the last stanza that someone asked me about. Okay, so what is nation? Let's read this one, some important parts of the same. What is nation? Page number 16. What I propose to do today is to analyze with you an idea which, though seemingly clear, lends itself to a most dangerous misunderstanding. Consider the vast agglomerations of men found in China, Egypt, or ancient Babylon, the tribes of Hebrews and the Arabs and city as it existed in Athens or Sparta. I hope you remember we have already dealt with the issue of nation, nation state, nationalism. What is it that constitute it? All right, so you have to focus on these principles when we are talking about the same. All right, so then let's talk about. Also, I'll bring the book for you. Just wait. I'll refer to the book. Wait. The last essay you're asking about, I'll refer to that. All right, just wait a second. I'll refer to the same. I'll find the essay for you. Just a minute. Okay, so I found the book. One thing I'll do for your reference, I'm just sharing the picture of this one so that all of you can read. Okay, which one was it? You were saying, which passage were you asking about? Okay, maps and mirrors, last stanza you're talking about. Okay. I'll also share the image of the last stanza at least so that everyone can refer to the same. Just wait a minute, okay? I'm just sharing the image of the last stanza that we are going to discuss. So all of you can refer to the same. Just wait a minute. I'll click the picture and send it off to you. Just check the Telegram group. I'm trying to send it across. This is the stanza that we are going to discuss. All right. Okay, I'm looking at other questions as well. Just wait. Okay, just wait. There are some questions. Okay, I'll take all of these. Wait, I'll combine and take all of these. Good morning, Vidhi, Risha, Sadaf, Admir, Rahul. All right, just wait. Yes, Pooja, I'm taking your questions as well. Wait, just wait. All right. So from all the questions that I just saw, I've taken out and combined some of these. So the very first question that I'm going to explain this critical essays last passage to you, that was first, and some two people have asked about the idea of, in a way, the idea of who is the main narrator, protagonist, Tridip or narrator. I think Pooja and someone else also. And then there was one more question regarding, okay, identity. Okay, that I will cover in Mapson. Okay, Shruti, good now that you are able to join. All right, so let's begin. I hope you received the telegram picture. So the reiterative use of the two images, mirrors and maps, interact in the novel to stretch the narrative beyond mimetic realism to incorporate an element of mystery, bafflement, at the frontiers of knowing. First, reiterative means when you reassert, when you rewrite किसी चीज को बार बार कहना, repeat करना या करना. All right, of two images, that is the constant and undercurrent use, and the constant undercurrent use of mirrors and maps interact in the novel to stretch the narrative beyond mimetic realism to incorporate an element of mystery. So beyond mimetic realism, that is, they're not just copying a certain kind of stance, all right, they are also rendering the idea of mystery, of the unknown, of the unexplored. How? The child who had once believed that distance separates, that in a corporeal substance, that across the border there exists another reality, and has by the end of the border, and by the end of the novel, has some of these certainties shattered. Bartholomew's Atlas is for him no longer a safe guide to a neatly compartmentalized world. The solid lines dividing countries turn into glass. Now, very important, turn into glass, through which it is clearly visible that Chiang Mai in Thailand, thou, which is clearly visible that Chiang Mai in Thailand, especially closer to Calcutta than New Delhi. Chengdu in China is nearer than Srinagar is. The material world represented by maps has not changed, nor is it suggested that immigration queues, custom barriers, and visa regulations can be wished away, but the defamiliarizing perspectives and guidelines initiate an introduction into interrogation of the organizing principles of division. So what does the writer understand? He says that with all the ons in the very beginning of the novel, it is the writer who thinks that, you know, there are divisions to different countries, all right, there are different parts that are there in the world that I cannot visit, that I can just see through the eyes of Trideep, all right. So the sense of familiarizing is there, that is, he gets familiarized with these places even before he has visited the same, all right. So there is a kind of blurring of these boundaries that we have talked about at an imaginative level, but then when he grows up into maturity, and with all the experiences that he had, with all the experiences that his loved one and those near and dear to him had, he realizes that all these boundaries that have been created are nothing but shadow lines. That is, the lines which do not hold any substantial value, the lines which can disappear at any moment of the time in the history, and the lines which only have place in people's imagination and their will and want in exercising a reassertive choice of complete control. So he says that the idea of now, when you sit over here, you realize the time, you realize something, you are sure of the fact that even a city in China is closer to Calcutta than New Delhi, all right, or how some places are even nearer in other countries than the states that we have, than the interstate traveling that we have in our own country. So the very idea is that of how these boundaries, how these line of demarcations are nothing but fluid shadow lines. Okay, are you able to understand? So in this sense, when you talk about the main narrator, there is no main narrator as such, because it's a narrative within a narrative. It's a narrator who is speaking, but it is the voice of Trideep that he represents most of the time, and then his own perspective also. So they are not, we can say, if there is a larger framework of who is a main narratorial voice, and it is obviously the narrator, but there is a narrative within a narrative. There is, that is, we are able to hear multiple voices, multiple perspectives, multiple stories of the same. Sadia, I hope now it's clear to you as well. You were also asking about the title. Okay, Khushi. Good morning, Sarabjeet, Monica. Okay, Priyanka, you're asking, what is it? Corporeal substance in a way, for example, when you say humans have a corporeal frame or corporeal body. So the idea of something which is not perennial, all right, which degrades. Okay, any more questions? I hope the title is also covered, the narratorial voice is also covered, and the passage that talks about this is also covered. So that brings us to the end of all the queries. Let's go back to this one. I'll pinpoint the important passages for you. Okay, this will, you can read it on your own. This is factual. I will come directly to Okay, so now let me point out some important parts in the study material that you can do, and then we will go to the critical essays that I have introduced already. So how is the narrative organized? This is important. Then the idea of themes and the idea of characters. I'll also do these, even if you're not able to read it completely, at least do this. Clear? Then some of the parts are over here. I'll explain it to you. I'll share the picture as well. Okay, I'm sharing one quote, one passage which talks about the idea of how Illa is a narrator's double. All right, just analyze it with me. I'm sharing the image on Telegram group. Don't worry, I'll share the full versions of these essays as well. Don't worry about that. I'm just sharing it in bits and parts. Why? So that you do not get confused as to it's being very difficult. All right, you're able to understand it. Got it? This is on page number 271, those who have the book. All right. Okay, we will be discussing about this. Then I have marked some more parts for you. Just let me tell you. Meanwhile, read the one that I've already sent. Okay, then we will be talking about one passage. Just wait a second. I'll find one more. I had some quotes ready for Thamma's character as well. Just wait. I'm just referring to those. I'll be sending the same on the group. Okay, just wait. Where is it? I did keep it over here. All right. Meanwhile, what you can do, you can just start reading the one that I've already shared. Or also 2-3 characters we are going to take in stride. And then what we will do, we will try to analyze the same. And then I'll show the whole essay as well. Don't worry about the same. I'm dealing with it in bits and parts so that we can understand the main characters individually. All right. That is what I'm trying to do here. Okay, so I'll be sharing Thammas, born in Dhaka, separated in the birthplace. Okay, I'm sharing one more. Do not get confused. There are parts of the same essay. All right, I'm sharing one more. This is on page number 279. Okay, those who have the book can refer to the same. All right, so I'll be sharing this one. 279. Yes. Start reading the same. If there's any problem, you can still ask me. I'll explain first, obviously. Then we will talk about the queries. So let's deal with these 3 pointers first. First is in relation to Ella and second is in relation to Thamma. Very important character. Many questions that you will find in the examination will be directly in conjunction to these facts. Okay, so this is, okay, let's talk about this. Let me check if you have already received or not. After chat lines, we'll finish just one poetry that we have. Today, you're talking about, okay, I'll tell you. Okay, can someone share the Telegram group? There are people who are asking for the same. This is on page number 271. Let's begin. Please share the link for the Telegram group. I'll reshare it. Some people are asking for the same. Any one of you can share the Telegram group link. Okay, let's start. Ella, in this context, as in others, functions very much as a narrator's double. Her her likeness close enough for her differences to cause him to reflect upon himself. And so, as always, it was Ella of whom it was said when we were children that she and I were so alike that I could have been her twin. It was that very Ella who baffled me yet again with the mystery of difference. In the dialectic of his identity, of his imagined self, she functions as a negative pole, structurally necessary and to be superseded. In the dialectic of his identity, of his imagined self, she functions as a negative pole, structurally necessary and to be superseded. Mark this line. So the idea, it might seem difficult to you, but it's very easy. The idea is that of, in terms of his personality, she is the opposite pole that he had to overcome in order to truly find or discover himself. The very idea of him having the ideals and the stance of unrequited love towards Ella. So it was only in the moment he realizes that how he has to find his own path, how he has to break away from this identification that he has with Ella, that he can truly and will truly find his salvation. The idea of breaking away from all these characters that he has associated himself with, the idea of disassociating with Tridi, the idea of disassociating with Ella, the idea of disassociating with Nick. That is, he has to see these people for who they are and has to make sure that he charts his own path in order to find his true self. That is what the essay talks about. That is what the novel is about towards the very end. It is only when the writer is able to do away with all these masks, all these layers of what he should be, who he is, and how he is in relation to other people, in context of other people, only when he sheds all these identities, all these compulsions, all these complexities, does he find himself truly. All right, then he learns all manner of lessons from his relationship with her. One second, what is it? Okay. He learns from her at first not entirely consciously. Okay, no, from here he learns all manner of lessons from his relationship with her, lessons about asymmetrical emotional relationships, about cultural dislocations and maladjustments, about the compromises that accompany life lived at home and abroad. Most of all, however, he learns from her at not first entirely consciously conflicted idiom of sexuality, particularly in so far as that language of desire is a central element in the complex of ideas that demarcate for him home from abroad, the Indian from the foreign. As I will go to suggest in Shadow Lines, differentiated sexualities are a key element in discourse of nationality and even or especially nationalism. A quick instance of this is the question Trideep is asked the moment he begins to describe a trip, make believe to London, and the Price family and May to his acquaintances at the Gold Park Adda. And what is she like? Sexy? The spontaneity and impersonality of this ribald vulgarism offers a cultural gloss on the remarkable fact that in this novel, the discourse of male sexuality is derived from its conflicted or romanticized sense of the foreign female body. For Trideep makes foreign and desirable a figure of romance from across the seas, as Ila is somewhat differently for the narrator. In fact, the Shadowlands describes a sexual or romantic relationship between her two people who share an obvious identity of nationality, race, or cultural experience. Desire originates and finds its object across borders. So the idea of the very last line is important. Why? Because it explains the gist of what the writer is talking about. The shadow lines describes no sexual or romantic relationship between two people who share an obvious identity of nationality. So he's saying that the very ideals of romanticism, which the novel stands for. So first of all, the writer, the curator of the critical material, is talking about one fact. That is, in case of Illa, she teaches a lot to the writer. She teaches a lot in terms of what? In terms of what? In terms of his own sexuality. That is, he's sexually attracted to Illa. He's in love with Ella, all right, and that is what we call it. He is infatuated to Ella. So he discovers this for himself in terms of Ella. And also the other fact that he discovers for himself is the idea of wanting the unknown. That is, Ella has been regularly traveling all over the world. All right, is someone like a free bird and has not lived in India for the longest period of time. Therefore, her mannerism and way of thinking are quite different from his and the others who live in the same country. All right, so she does not share a kind of cultural affinities that we have talked about. So, although obviously she's an Indian, that to a Bengali, like the writer, like the narrator, but she is somewhat of a foreign object, someone of a foreign beauty that projects her charms onto the narrator. And this parallel is drawn between what, in a though in a bit different way, not completely same as May and Trideep. So the idea of these two couples as well is that of how love is always cross borders, cross cultural. So the idea of Amitav Ghosh time and again reiterating, reasserting the fact that all these boundaries of different caste, color, creed, nationality, religion are all nothing but shadow lines. So you can include again this point as well when you're writing about the significance of the title, that the idea of these blurring shadow lines which have no substantial importance, which have no poignance in determining whether a person will have a successful relationship with other person or not. Similar in the case of Trideep, what happens when people ask him that how May is, all right, he describes that no, she's not attractive in the obvious way. She does not have such a beautiful face. She has sloppy features, all these he says, but for him, she represents the kind of love that he has read about, that he feels that he should be in, the idea of a cross cultural, cross borders, across the sea lover. This idea is that of an obsession with all the writers. Why? Because it is an obsession with Trideep, and the main narrator is influenced by Trideep in every which way. Therefore, it becomes his norm as well to follow up with the same kind of romantic relationship with Ella, and therefore the idea of again and again finding a validation, and it sublimates in his having an affair with May Price. Clear? Are you able to understand? Okay, I have just published Dipanshu's text. Oh, Roshni, that you will have to find for yourself. I have Oxford one. Okay, I'm also publishing Nazia's link. Divya, yes, you can do that, but obviously there is a genuine sense of love also, not just lust, but love also. Okay, Shefali was saying the theme of nationalism. Okay, I'll come back to that. Any other problem? Understood, Kushi? Understood others? Shall we move forward then? Take a minute, look at what we have discussed. I will be coming back to the idea of nationalism. Okay, we will have to switch to a different arena. Therefore, I will first finish off with this one and then we will talk about it. Okay. Okay, just read it and tell me if there's any problem. We will discuss the same. Okay, let me check if there's regarding the topic that we have just covered. Vidhi, that is very conflicting acclaim. Whether Nick really loved Ella, obviously there might have been some kind of attraction, affection, but yes, not complete love. Vicky, you're asking, you can do one thing. You have to do one thing. You have to buy the main text, and apart from that, soul study material is quite enough because in the book you will find many critical essays. So those are more than enough. Okay. All right. Let's go to the next part. Okay, now one more thing I have to discuss with you. So I'll just share a picture of the same as well. This is again from the same essay that you will be able to refer to. I'm just sending it to you. This is on page number 272, all right? Just wait, I'm sending it to you. All right, just check this out. Check the essay that I have showed right now. Look at it. This pointer also we have to discuss in relation to what we just talked about, all right? So yes. Got it? I hope you have received the same. No, it's still in transit. So in this, the writer is saying, again, you can quote this in the examination as well when you're talking about the relation between the narrator, and if there's any question related to Ella as well, you can write. She looked improbably exotic to me, dressed in faded blue jeans and t-shirt like no other girl I had ever seen before, except in pictures in American magazines. So, are you able to understand? What is it? Explain this statement to me when the writer says she looked improbably exotic to me, dressed in faded blue jeans and t-shirt like no other girl I've ever seen. So can you decipher from the same? What is it that the writer is talking about? Answer me. How will you analyze this one? Answer that for me. I'll be looking for your answers. And somebody's asking, what will we start? Okay, we will start In Custody by Anita Desai after this. Okay. Just one poem we have to do, and then Custody by Anita Desai. And there are some drama part also that we have to cover. So yes, in the poetry part as well. But first we will do Anita Desai's because that is the major one. So analyze this quote for me. What does the writer means by this? What does the writer mean by this? Thank you so much, Sandhya. That's very sweet of you that you are able to understand and you find it easy, and I can make it easy for you. Thank you. Sridev, yes, you can also refer to Google as well. No problem to that. Because when you start searching in Google, you will also get some critical essays. So tell me, just you have to tell me, analyze this quote for me, that what is it? What do you see in here? In the writer saying that she looked very exotic to me, improbably exotic. What do you again understand? Is there a specific obsession that we are looking at on the part of the writer in the fact that he always looked up to Trideep for his foreign explorations and now is looking up to Ila for her being in a certain way, dressed in a certain way? Do you see some kind of personality disorder or obsession in part on the part of the narrator here? Can you pinpoint that out for me? Okay, answer. I can see some answers. Yes, you have given me the interpretation of the same. That is right. That is right. Now tell me one thing more. That what does it mean in terms of the narrator? For example, Vidhi was saying, I think he is talking about Ila when he first met him. All right, Khushi was saying she looked like a typical imagery of foreign girl. Yes, that is the thing. That is the thing. Aka, you are saying, okay, see, it would not be fair for me to narrate in this way. How will you write the examination? It is very important that you have the same exposure. Harpreet, you are answering, ma'am, what is the meaning of terrifying violence? That is a violence that is so heart-rending that it is going to leave an indelible mark. An indelible means something which cannot be erased. Nikita, you are saying the writer is basically appreciating her dressing sense. Okay. Khushi, you are saying at that time in India, mostly girls did not wear any Western attire. Okay. Nidhi, you are saying because she wants freedom. Divya, you are saying he's saying that she was looking so flawlessly gorgeous and exotic as if she was an American model for rap. Okay, good. Okay, let me just read out. See, you have all given the right explanation. You have told me what the quote is about. I'm asking, what does the quote, you have talked about the quote in relation to what did it say about Ella. Now tell me, try to analyze the fact that what does it say about the writer? Is there a certain kind of obsession that we see, certain kind of obsession that is part of the writer's, narrator's personality? Can we say something about his character through this? What is it? Okay, just wait. I have many messages over here. I'll keep reading, you keep posting. I'll then announce the answers. Okay, just keep reading. Okay, I'm just scrolling. Just wait. I'll tell you. Okay, good. Okay, there are many answers. I'm very happy that all of you are able to analyze it critically. That's a very great thing. Okay, I'm going to read some answers. I'm going to also club some of them. So someone is saying he describes it how she was looking and also towards her affection. Kushi was saying the narrator looks at Ila as the most beautiful girl because he's in love with her, right? The idea of emotional quotient, very good. Then Nikhil was saying Ila was interesting for him as she was from a foreign country. A narrator had never seen a girl like her in his life dressed in such a way as Ila used to be. So the idea of being a foreign visage, the idea of being a foreigner, the idea of being dressed up in a specific way that the writer has not seen. So the attraction towards a new thing that we are talking about. Okay, Nikhil, that is the point. Good. Someone is also giving the same answer, like how he never had experienced anything like this, how he had never seen other girls dressed like the same as Ila. Yes, Roshni, the idea of finding affection in a girl. Sadafi is saying, ma'am, though she's an Indian, but after living in abroad, she's having the difference in culture. But in shared lines, we get to know about the caste and creed. Color does not matter as the person is loved in any nation. Right. She wants to live her life as she wants with no bounds. Nidhi, this is your point. Pooja, you are saying it signifies that the narrator is attracted to her, right? Ria, you are saying, but this narrator means that she's an object of great desire to him, that he's sexually attracted towards her. She seems to him as a foreign girl whom she has never seen in the magazines, right? The idea of exoticism, the idea of having seen something which was not there from the very beginning. Sadia, you are saying the narrator judged people by the way people dress. Has good, he has a good dressing sense. Okay, so he's judging her attractiveness through her clothes. Yes, Roshni, I'm making the same point that how he has never seen other girls dressed in the same way. Prachi was saying he's attracted to Ella but not is not in love with her. Okay, Khushi Tiwari, you're making the same point. Narrator had a want of desire. He wanted Ella. He's affected towards her. Again, someone is making the same point. Khushi, you were saying he was mostly trying to be like Riddhi, that he loved May, a foreign girl. So maybe narrator was also trying to like, very good, very good. The idea of how he's also trying to imitate the example of Riddhi of falling in love with a woman who is from across the seas. Very good. So that yes, a bit of it, not complete. Yes, Shilpa, Nikita, and Sarabjit. Yes, you all have made the same point and exact ones. That is her Western clothes. Siddhi, yes, you're making the same point of how he's fascinated. Yes, Nikita. Yes, Asta. Divya, Khushi, Shilpa, you're also pointing towards the simplicity of character. Prachi, Siddhi, Divya, you're again making the same point. Yes. Yes, Shruti, good analysis. Yes, Nikita, Sandhya, Sadia. All right. Yes, Priyanka. Yes, Prachi. Yes, very good. Excellent. That all of you, that all of you have answered, have critically analyzed. I'm so happy about it. So very, very good. That is the purpose of are reading any form of literature, non-literature. That is the purpose of education, to make you thinkers, to make you undeterred, dauntless thinkers, that you can think out of the box, you can talk about the facts of how and what you think about the text, what do you think about the characters, how do you relate it to life. So very good, I'm very happy about it. So that is the answer. That is, in this quote, we are able to see that how he's extremely attracted to Ella because she is some sort of a different, some sort of a difference or aberration. Aberration. Aberration means something which is different from others. And he, in order to mirror his relationship with Riddhi, was also trying to fall in love with someone who represents being over the seas, this represents long distance relationship. And he, through his upbringing, traditional upbringing, has never seen such a bold woman, and therefore he's attracted to her in all which way possible. All right, and now we will talk about the character of Thamma. All right, I have already shared the pictures with you. Okay, so I'm reading it out. The narrator, the character of Thamma. This is on page number 279. So all she wanted is the tragedy. All she wanted was a middle class life in which, like the middle classes, she wanted in which, like the middle classes that the world over, she would thrive, believing in the unity of nationhood and territory, of self-respect and national power. That was all she wanted, a modern middle class life, a small thing that history was denied her in its fullness and for which she could never forgive it. Again, I'm repeating very important quote, mark it. All she wanted was a middle class life in which, like the middle classes the world over, she would thrive, believing in the unity of nationhood and territory, of self respect and national power. That was all she wanted, a modern middle class family, a small thing that history has denied her in the fullness of its being and for which she will never forget the same. So, what are we looking at? We are looking at Tama's just basic desire of having a family who is united with one idea of nationhood, who is agreeing and unanimous on the idea of nationalism, but she sees and looks at and finds the loopholes in the system which projects a kind of false harmony. All right, she realizes that in all, we have all been fooled. There is no unity that we are talking about. There are people who are dying every day. There are people who are killing each other. So the idea of oneness, the idea of unity that she thought was stable, was permanent, was perennial, is not something which can be taken for granted. Is not something which has been gifted to her on the platter. She needs to also understand the fact, and she realizes this idea of the dismantling of the system that has happened, the disintegration of the system which has happened, despite the appearance of there being a false unity in all the surface. Clear? Able to understand? Look at it again. So now, okay, now let me ask you a question. You have to answer this one. Tama's nationalist faiths fail her because she comes to realize, in what is surely one of the most moving sections of the novel, that borders have a tenuous existence. That is, they are not permanent. All right. Okay, and also this one, I think I've already shared this quote. Yes, I've already shared the quote. Tenuous existence, that is insubstantial, which does not matter, and that not even a history of bloodshed can make them real and impermeable. That is, even if the fact that you have fought for such a partition, you have fought certain wars for a certain reason, it can still not change the fact that these borders, these lines are all imaginary. They are permeable, that is, they can be changed at any time. It is only due to the geopolitical politics that we have right now, for the territorial control that we wish to have, for the spatial control that humans strive on for, have propensity towards, that these borders are created, but they are the lines that can be crossed anytime. They are fluid categories, they are not permanent, they are not opaque, they are just imaginary, they are not real. Lines on the maps are the hard work of administrators and cartographers, and they do not mark any more than the will of the state. In 1964, as she plans to fly to Dhaka, she wonders if she would be able to see the border between India and East Pakistan from the plane. So, what is she saying? She thought there would be a line, a clear cut line that she would be able to see as a boundary. It just shows her noviceness, her naivety. When her son laughs and asks her if she thought that the border was a long black line with green on one side and scarlet on the other, which like it was in a school atlas, she says, of course not, but surely there's something. Trenches, perhaps, or soldiers, or guns pointing at each other, or even just barrier strips of land. Don't they call it no man's land? So, what is she saying? She's talking about her own confusion of the boundaries. Now, you have to explain this quote for me quickly. Just think about the quote, read it again, and explain it to me. I'll be looking for your answers. The quote that I've just shared on the group. You have received it, yes? Yes. Okay, I'm looking at the answers. Just wait. There are many messages. I'll just scroll down and tell you. Okay. Meanwhile, you write the answers. Prachi, kindly check something on your own part. Although we are not referring to the screen, as in I'm referring to the passages that I've shared on the group. I'm I'm doing Shadow Lines by Amitabh Ghosh. Oh, the edition you're asking, Penguin. Penguin, there are some. Okay, you are saying peng. No, no, I am referring to Oxford. What is the meaning of history has denied her? The idea of that history has betrayed her because she thought that all the nationhood's idea, all the idea of nationalism which she had thought were intact, which she thought that she had to fight for the country's freedom and everything will be fine. There's a cost to pay. She realizes that the futility of this matter and how things like violence are never going to end. Yes, Monica, right. Divya, you are saying it shows that she's innocently naive because she thought there might be something on the border that separates the two nations. And most importantly, that thing of separation could be seen from the sky. She fought for independence, so now she wants to see that very thing. Very good, Divya. Very good. You are saying, see, I have given you a quote on the group in the Telegram that is for Thamma, and I've asked you what do you interpret from the same. That is my question. Okay, just write your answers. Take a minute. Take one more minute. No problem. Just analyze it. A very important novel. It is going to be of great use to you, even for further studies. You will be able to form a perspective of the same. So it is very important that you read it. Read the quote again. I'm repeating. Okay, some people. Okay, I'm repeating. The quote that I've asked you about is this one that I've shared on the group as well. Thamma's nationalist faith fails her because she comes to realize in what is surely one of the most moving sections of the novel that borders have tenuous existence, that they are insubstantial. All right. Somebody also very greatly mentioned the fact that how the idea of she fought for freedom and therefore it should have been a line of clear cut demarcation that she was expecting. All right, but it is not there. So she says, and that not even a history of bloodshed can make them real and impermeable. Lines on the map are the handiwork of administrators and cartographers, and they do not mark such more than the will of the state. All right. So now tell me how interpretation do you form? Okay, I'll check the messages. Just wait, and then I will narrate the answers. Harpreet Dev asked, what is the meaning of camaraderie? Camaraderie means companionship. Ria, you have said here we see that Thama was quite disappointed at the fact that in spite there being so much war, so much bloodshed, and still there are not any permanent boundaries, permanent lines which can separate a land into two different parts, all right. While she was going to fly to Dhaka, she thought that finally she would be able to see a physical borders dividing two countries, but she got to know there is no such thing. There can here we can see the significance of the title again. The borders and the boundaries are just shadowlines. Very, very good. Nikita, you are saying it shows her innocence. Yes. Khushi is writing, Thamaz was uncertain that how her homeland Dhaka was suddenly becoming East Pakistan. So odd it is for her. She wanted to see the borders as to how the separations looks. Yeah, very good. The idea of being able to find or being not able to find any palpable proof of the same. That I want a physical proof of the struggle that we had, of the differences that there is. Roshni, you are talking about. She's talking about the oneness of the nation. Yes, Nikita. Yes, she can be called a name. Harpreet, you're asking what is the meaning of cosmopolitanism, the idea of being or residing or abstaining to the city space. Saroj, you are saying narrative thinks that these borders are meaningless. Yes. Sandhya, you are saying, ma'am, it suggests that the border lines are the lines of demarcation, are very weak and impermanent, and they can never be made permanent despite of the terrifying violence and bloodshed. Yes. Priyanka, you're writing in that quote, Thama was introduced in her Atlas book that borders are made of black, dark colors with soldiers and gunmen, as we had go through with the same. But in reality, there are many differences that are there. Okay, one second. Who's this? Okay, so I was reading from here, but in reality, there are many differences. There are not the significant borderlines as we learned in Atlas book. No gunmen points their gun each other. Men we security secure. Okay, yes, Priyanka, good answer. Then Roshni, you have also said, and Nikhil, that I've shared on the Telegram group, Nikhil. She's wondering, Roshni, you say where there is a difference among people when there are no lines at the border which is dividing us. Yes, very good. The idea of is there any difference between people as such then? Monopoly means the idea of having the oligarchy, that is the idea of hegemonizing a system. Okay, there are many answers. Just wait. Just wait. I'm narrating. So, Kevin, you have said for someone who has never traveled across borders and has always seen the world through maps and lines to the separate nationalities, the confusion is quite understandable to me. I have a similar belief that I was a child, so I can relate. Very good. The idea of you being able to empathize with her, yes, she has never traveled outside. You cannot expect her to know exactly how things work. So, Saroj, you are saying it says that lines, borders, divisions are invented and arbitrary, and that people everywhere are the same. He uses the metaphor of mirror to enforce the idea of sameness. This applies to a person's events and situation. Very good. Kushia Singh, narrator's grandmother, was angry at those doomed fights between nations she had struggled through her whole life since her childhood. Her family was separated from her uncle's family, and then in adulthood, she had struggled in raising her child, which was very difficult for any woman at that time. And then later in the nation separation, which was the barrier between her and her motherland. Thamma is steadfast nationalist. She thinks the borders have a weak existence and not even the history of bloodshed can make them truly impregnable. Ma'am, why Sama didn't consider Ila Gurkar? Because she has her own prejudices about the same Upasana. She thought that because she dressed in a certain way and had a certain lifestyle, she is not appropriate and suitable for the narrator. Also, Thamma had a hint of how he was in love with her and she was obviously not interested in him. Yes, Sir Roj. Nikita is saying that this shows that she's undiplomatic and straight. Yes. Okay, so yes, Prachi. Yeah, that is one of the questions that you have to ask. Sandhya, you are saying because it does not matter from which country one belongs, that we can still have close relationship between the people, which is exemplified by the 3 years old relation between the Indian and foreign families with continues. Yes, this is good that you have taken the stride from the critical essays that we read over here also. So it is important, overall for you to analyze the novel in a way that you're able to inculcate all these themes. All right, so even in the examination you're not able to fully understand the idea of the questions and you have no other choice, you can at least introduce these pointers of identity crisis of maps and mirrors. This will show to the evaluator, this will prove it that you have done a great job, that you have done something, you have read it and you have made an effort for the same. Therefore you have to make sure of the same. Nivedita, you're also answering. These lines show that her love for her nation, that she has borders, have great importance because, according to her, after losing so much lives in the war, the border should be impermeable and should have great importance. But what she saw was completely opposite of what she expected, that very weak importance and people can have of other nation can travel to other nation. Yes. Shilpa is saying before partition, all were living like a family, but after partition, they have the feeling of my country. Yes. Yes, Aisha, you have also given the right answer. Good, very good. You're also talking about the idea of borders being of tenuous nature or having tenuous existence. Very good. So overall, the idea of the novel has been that of trying to find the identity of a person. Where is it that a person belongs? Is it a country that the person has been born into, or is it a country that the person wants to be in, or how is a person supposed to be like? Is he supposed to be like, or is she supposed to be like what the society wants them to be, or does it happen that he or she becomes what he or she wishes to become? Is it one role model that the person has to follow and be like, or are we looking at a larger perspective which has multiplicity of identities and polyvalency of identities? Can we say that a identity of a person can be monolithic, that is, can just be one category, or do we have to expect and also accept the idea of hybridity, polyvalency, and synchronicity? Polyvalency means POL by VALENCY. Polyvalency, hybridity, and synchronicity, SYNCRECITY. The idea of having amalgamation of all the cultures. So when we truly understand that a human nature and human identity and cultural identity cannot be monolithic. We cannot stand for just one culture. With our changing times, there are different cultures which affect us. We cannot say that, okay, I will just be, I'll just stick to what I have, I'll just stick to my ancestral culture. No, we are all a sum total of what we see. We all become a part of who we meet, where we go. Therefore, we have to celebrate that part of us that changes with every meeting that we have with a person. We have to accept that part of ours which carries on a bit and part of every other event that we experience. And in that acceptance, in that celebration of multiplicity, polyvalency, and hybridity, will we actually achieve the idea of our true identity? Because it can only be understood in terms of the diversity that we have, the diversity of experiences, the diversity of culture, the diversity of forms. All right, is it clear? Are you able to understand? Any questions? Any questions? Ask me. Yes, Roshni, right. With your saying is just chauvinism. Yes, the idea of just thinking that I am the most supreme person, my culture is the most supreme, is what we call chauvinism and xenophobic nature. Yes, Nikhil, right answer. So, study material is a supplementary material. You should always go for the main text. Hereby, you can read all the essays and all the master texts. With that, soul material is going to help you as a supplement material. Okay. What else? Tell me. Okay, I'm looking at the questions. You can ask me. Just wait. Any observations that you want to add to? You can add. Okay, I can see some. I'll tell you. One second. Actually, you are saying is in the atlas we see different types of color, so we can understand clearer difference between countries. But actual fact is that everything is same, but people create boundaries. Yes. Okay, Nidhi, you are saying Thamas code. So the idea of all she wanted, they are saying that all she wanted was unity. All she wanted was simple happiness, that this is my country, this is your country, and everything is safe, and there's a clear cut difference, because initially there was no clear cut difference and it entailed a lot of violence, it led to a lot of violence. Then she thought that after a point of time everything will stop and we will be able to freely move and consider this as our own and the other thing as someone else. But finally, in that instance whereby she's attacked, finally in that instant whereby she sees no line of demarcation, when she sees the true, when she sees the world for what it truly is, for the globalization process, for the cross cultural dialectics, she realizes that, you know, her perception of a unity, of a unified nation is and was wrong. The way you are saying our past generations were not so affected by others, so they were monolithic. Yes, we can say they are very, they're quite adamant in their own ways, because obviously they did not have that kind of exposure. So you must have seen that your grandparents, your parents in some cases, are also very strict about some things and adamant about their own beliefs, because this is what they have grown up into. Okay, if it is that you would won't be, you don't have the access to the book, you can obviously go for, you know, just reading the soul material. But there is someone who has shared the group, in the group, the copy of the whole book, so you can also download the same. Yes, Pooja, that can be said that Amitabh Ghosh is also representing himself in terms of the character. Enslaved people, Harpreet, means those who are being slaved, those who are slave. The master text names is The Shadow Lines by Amitabh Ghosh. Yes, Navodita. These lines show her love for her nation, that borders have great importance, because according to her, after losing so many lives in war, the border should be impermeable and should have great importance. But what she saw was completely opposite to what she saw, that the border is very weak importance and people can be of nations, can travel to other nations. So the very idea of how she thought that these were opaque, impermeable categories of being, that is, there was a fixed existence of the same. So in a world whereby everything is changing, in a world whereby every other person is not the person, is not behaving in a certain way that you would want them to be. For example, the narrator also supersedes her authority. Then there are characters like Ila that she cannot understand. There are characters like Trideep that she cannot side with. So in this world of ever changing scenarios and times, she is shocked by the fact that the one thing that she believed all through her life is also not true, is also a fake concept. Okay, Nidhi, good. Yes, narrator is unnamed Vidhi. All right. So that brings us to the end of the novel Shadowlines. Tomorrow we'll be starting with In Custody by Anita Desai. All right. For today, that is enough. You have to read and find any problems that you have in the novel. It is a very important piece of writing, not just for examination, but all your life through. You will love this novel. All right. So that is it. Shruti is talking about n number of issues like friendship, war, love, image, differences, similarities, all these. All right. So let's call it a day. I'll see you all on Wednesday. Be prepared. Those who have not already read the text, do read the text. All right. That is compulsory for all of you. Why? Because it will lead to a better understanding. Those who do not have access for the same, I think there has been a PDF shared for the same. You can refer to that. Other than that, if there's any problem, you can obviously ask question over here. Yes, we have Nikita. Yes, in the next class we will do that one poetry which is left. Just remind me in the next class as well, and we will start with In Custody by Anita Desai. All right, that is our. All of you have a great day. All right, all of you take care. Have a great day. Do study what we have already done, so that you can come up with relevant bodies. Okay, Vidhi, happy to hear that you were able to understand completely. All right, keep studying. If there's anything, any problem that you face, ask me. All right, all of you. All right then. Take care. I'll see you in the next one.